Homeschool Academy, and I'm here once again to talk about how to get started with homeschool. If you missed the Facebook Live yesterday, we did how to get started with homeschool at 6 p.m. last night. You can find it in the video section of the True North Homeschool Academy Facebook page. We also have it listed at our YouTube channel, so I hope you can go over there and check it out for a little bit. But today we are going to talk about accreditation. And this is a question I get very often. People call up and they're like, is your school accredited? I actually got a phone call this morning from somebody local to me that wondered how they got accredited as a homeschool family. And so I want to just take a few minutes and define what accreditation is, let you know some details about accreditation and what that means for you as you homeschool and possibly go from public school to school, maybe even back to public school, how that affects you going on to the military or university or college after you graduate from high school, etc. So let's dive in. Accreditation is really a technical term, and it is really about quality control. It's the action or process of officially recognizing someone or an institution that they have particular status or qualified to perform a particular activity. So if you are part of a public school system, you probably realize that you're accredited by the regional accrediting board in your area. You don't even think about it because a public school has to go through certain types of standards. That's what makes them a public school, and that's why you can transfer from one school to another across the country, right? Also, Christian schools have accrediting agencies, but one thing most people aren't aware of is that there are many different types of accrediting agencies, and those accrediting agencies have different standards that they go by. So when I was getting ready for this, I just looked up really just a quick search online, and I came up with over 20 accrediting agencies for public and private schools, and you can just do that yourself. So one thing I want you guys to realize as homeschoolers is that when you're asking about accreditation, you might be assuming that there's just a certain standard everybody meets across the board, and that is not actually the case, because every accrediting board focuses on something different, okay? And so the accrediting boards for public schools, they're going to talk about things like teacher training and teacher licensure, who can teach, what can be taught. They focus on curriculum standards and that type of thing. And if you're homeschooling because you don't like what's going on in the public school, you want to be careful of that, because some private schools and online schools do use accrediting board that are also used in public and government schools. So if you're looking for an accredited program, just be aware what it is that you want with that and why. Accrediting boards vary widely, and that's because a school is, so accrediting boards do vary widely. So don't assume that just because a school is accredited, it means what you think it means. I have a list of questions that might be helpful to you as you're looking for outsourcing to online schools or academies or different programs like that. Accreditation, one thing a lot of people don't realize is it's not free and it's not cheap. So when you go to an online academy, so say somebody calls us versus another online school that is accredited, one thing they're not realizing is that accreditation costs money, and someone's paying for that accreditation, and guess what? It's the consumer. So if you're looking for an accredited online academy, just realize that right up front, that's going to drive the cost up, because you will be paying for that term. And you might also realize that depending on who's doing the accrediting, you might have licensed teachers or you might not. That is going to change the quality of the education that your kids get. And I'm not saying it's for better or worse, I'm just saying it's something to be aware of. So some questions to ask if you're looking for an online or private school is, what accreditation does that school carry, if any? And what does that accrediting agency oversee? Because some accrediting agencies cost thousands of dollars, and really they're not doing much other than saying, how do you store your student records? Now, some might say you have to teach this certain curriculum or you have to meet these standards. Some might require that you have licensed teachers from an actual teacher college, or that they're certified by the state. So these are questions that you want to ask when it comes to accreditation. Who is the accrediting agency and what standards do they oversee? how does that affect the cost of the classes? Because again, accreditation is not free and someone's paying for it, most likely the consumer, right? I would also ask what percentage of the teachers are from the public school system. Several online companies are using licensed teachers from the public school system. Some of those are great teachers. Some of them are fleeing the government school system. And so it's not that they don't agree necessarily with everything that's going on. They just don't want to be in the classroom anymore. So that would be a good question to ask. Honestly, it'd be a good question to ask for any online entity that you're looking at for education. Is being a licensed teacher a requirement for teaching with your company? Because some accrediting boards require licensed teachers. Now, at True North Homeschool Academy, we are not accredited because, in my mind, at this point, I feel like it's a marketing tool that's going to cost me a lot of time and effort and you a lot more money. I don't want to pass that cost on to you. We have several teachers who are not licensed teachers in the traditional sense. We have PhDs who work for us and teach your kids high school classes with PhDs, but they're not licensed teachers, and that accreditation might disallow us to have them as teachers in our group. We have a teacher who's worked at high levels of public policy in Washington, D.C., but because he's not licensed, he might not be able to do that. So in my mind, not being accredited allows us to bring in experts in their subject matter to come and teach your students, and that provides a higher quality of education. That might change in the future, but that's where we're at right now. I would also ask who in the company has homeschool experience, because everybody's realizing that homeschooling is $1 billion business, and many savvy business owners want to get in on that that great business opportunity. And why wouldn't they? It just makes good business sense. But with that, you might have a program, an accredited program where nobody has any idea about homeschooling and the benefits of homeschooling and the freedom of homeschooling and how you can earn a lot of college or a lot of high school credit without doing a traditional class. And that is something to really look at. How many people in the company have homeschooling experience and understand the freedom and joys of homeschooling? Also, would you be considered a homeschooler by the state in which you reside? Okay, this is a question most homeschoolers need to ask every online program or every homeschool program that they're looking at when they consider accreditation. Because for the most part, even if you go through an accredited program, it's not an umbrella school necessarily. That's something that you want to look at. And because of that, even if they are accredited and you're paying that higher cost, you probably still have to register as a homeschooler in your state. So again, back to yesterday's Facebook Live, how to get started with homeschooling. The first thing you want to do is check out your state laws and regulations for homeschooling and follow those. So even if you go to an online entity that says we are an accredited high school homeschool program, you still will have to register as a homeschooler in your state. It doesn't necessarily act as an umbrella school for you. Okay, so when do you need accreditation? I don't think you need it for high school, to be honest with you. There are a handful of states in the country that will not accept homeschool credits for high school. I happen to live in one of those states. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if you start homeschooling as a 9th grader and want to go back to public school as a 10th grader, they will look at your homeschool credits and go, well, we're not going to take those. So we don't count homeschool credits. You have to start over as a freshman. Even if that happened, there's a go around for that. You can just take classes as a 10th grader and then graduate as a homeschooler. So you don't have to start back as a freshman unless you really want a diploma from that institution. But as a homeschooler, I talked to somebody this morning, you have every legal right to issue a diploma to your student. That doesn't have to be issued by a public school, and it's legal in every state to homeschool. And so it is totally legal and acceptable for you to issue the diploma to your student. Okay, so most states do allow you to homeschool, and they will take your homeschool credits. So in most states in the country, when you're homeschooling, if you decide to homeschool for 9th and 10th grade, but your student wants to go back as an 11th grader, excuse me, they will take the homeschool credits that you've already completed. They'll add that to the transcript, and then you just finish out and you graduate with that class. So there's really no, in my opinion, from where I sit, no necessity for accreditation at the high school level. Now, in some online forums, I've had people say, well, the college that my student's going to will only accept an accredited diploma, an accredited high school transcript. And I ask every time, which college and university, and I never have gotten a response for that. So there might be some out there, but in my years of experience doing academic advising, where students have gotten into Ivy League, military academies, colleges and universities throughout the country, some with full-time scholarships. I've worked with a lot of homeschoolers over the years. They've never said, we're not taking your homeschool transcript. They're going to look at test scores, they're going to look at the transcript, they're going to look at references in the essay and a lot of things. Accreditation is probably not high on their list. And here's the deal. If your student is a student that school or university wants, they will most likely make a way for them to get there. So don't be concerned about accreditation at the high school level. And definitely anything up till 8th grade, don't even worry about it. It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. When do you need to look at accreditation? Because there is a time when you do need to look at it. I'm going to take a drink of coffee here in my awesome mug. When do you need to look at accreditation? It is, in my opinion, very important to look at accreditation at the college and university level. So if your student is enrolled in a college or university, you probably want to make sure that that place is accredited, because if they transfer, if it's not accredited, those credits will not transfer, so they've lost college time and money. If your student wants to go to graduate school, it's probably really important that your student has an undergrad degree that is actually accredited in order to get into graduate schools. There are exceptions to that, but there's a lot more hoops to jump through if you want to go to graduate school and you don't have an accredited undergraduate degree. So accreditation is important at the college and university level. But at the high school level, it is not really that important. There's many go-arounds for homeschoolers. We're happy to help you with that. You can have a phenomenal, outrageously successful high school program with no accreditation. Again, it is legal in every state in the country for you to homeschool and to create a transcript for your student and to issue a diploma. And definitely in the elementary years through junior high, don't even worry about it. But even in the high school level, it's not as important as a lot of people think it is. Now, does that mean you should not look for a program that has excellent teachers and a program that's going to fit for your family? Absolutely. But you want to look around, and we've been getting a lot of calls where people are saying, hey, I want to know about your program because I'm comparing it to this program. Be a shopper, be a consumer. Online education is burgeoned, especially since last year. In 2010, it was a $1 billion market. In 2020, it was expected to be a $2.1 billion market, but I think it kind of exploded last year. So it's probably even bigger. And again, it's big money. So you want to be a smart consumer. You want to look around and you want to ask, who are your teachers? What is their background? Do they understand homeschooling? Is there flexibility in this program for my kids? Absolutely be a smart consumer. But you don't need to worry about accreditation necessarily. Okay. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? I think that's it as far as accreditation goes. So it's pretty straightforward. You don't necessarily need it. I don't really want to say, don't even worry about it. Don't look at it. Don't think about it. Because if it's something that is on your mind, then think about it. Consider it. What is it on your mind for? But you don't need it in order to homeschool legally and to homeschool well. So I want to just put your minds at rest about accreditation, but it is important at the college and university level. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what about socialization for those of you who are just getting started with homeschooling and you might be worried about how can my kids get socialized? Is this really a thing? Are homeschoolers weird? Are they awkward? We're going to address those questions tomorrow, and then on Wednesday we're going to talk about, can your homeschool kid get into college? What does that look like? What does it mean? How hard is it? All those kind of things. And then on Thursday we're going to talk about how to get it all done when you're homeschooling. So I hope you guys can join us for the rest of the week. If you miss any of these, you can follow on our page at True North Homeschool Academy. They are listed in the video section. Or you can head on over to our YouTube channel, which has other videos of all the Meet the Teachers are on there and some other fun things, and you can check us out there. We do have a podcast called Life Skills 101, Life Skills for Digital Age. We have some really great podcasts this last spring. Pam Barnhill's been on there. Some other fun podcasts with our teachers about how music is a life skill and other things like that. And as always, head on over to the True North Homeschool Tribe Facebook group. We have a lot of great discussions over there. And for those of you who have already enrolled with our K through 12 live online classes, we are having junior high parent orientation tonight at 6 p.m. And then tomorrow night, we are going to have the junior high student orientation at 6 p.m. So we hope to see you guys there. If you have any questions about True North Homeschool Academy, we would love to answer them. You can tag me in this post. Feel free to call us. The phone number and the email is on the website at truenorthhomeschoolacademy.com. And you can also leave a message in the chat. We try to respond to those right away. Anything else I need to talk to you about? I think that's it for now. But I will see you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. to talk about what about socialization. So I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.